Time to fly, time to fly. Never give up, we won't retreat. The ones who stand up.
Hello friends, and welcome again to another Street Fighter Duel video.
Okay legends, welcome back to the channel with another video on SEA for Street Fighter Duel, and this time we're gonna be talking about the next new unit that have been dropped to the game, which is Diviner Rose, as you see here. She's a master faction character. We got a little bit of rewards, so you can go and try to summon for her and get a copy of her. She's a support healer from the tech faction, plus a buffer, plus a dispeller, plus a debuffer, which is absolutely good for you, and especially right now because we don't have a lot of characters right now on SEA. So Diviner Rose, absolutely a wonderful character. She will help you a lot. Your main thing to use her with is her C1. We'll be talking about that soon. So first of all, we're gonna talk about her passive because it's the most important one, and it will explain everything, so we don't go and explain it multiple times. So her passive is everything for her. When it triggers, it gives you all the buffs and the debuffs and the cleansing that you want to do on your units and on the enemy lineup. So Soul Reflux, when Fate Divination or Life Divination triggers, there's a 15% chance to refill your super combo meter by 50 points, not 50%. It means 100 points will be with every time they trigger. So they might trigger together. You have a 15% and it goes up to 17%, and the filling will go to 75% and increase that chance to refill the super combo for 20. So it goes to 20. Now we're gonna talk about what they do. So Fate Divination, upon unleashing a super combo or a combo, that target receives damage equal to 174% of Diviner Rose attack and has 30% chance to have one buffed dispelled from Fate Divination status. When Fate Divination status ends after triggering 2 times, cannot be triggered. Diviner Rose is defeated. So when she dies, you can't trigger the Fate Divination anymore, and you can max it up at 2 times per the fight. So you can put Fate Divination twice on the enemies and you can trigger them. And when you trigger them, you dispel the bosses or the enemies from one buff that they have, so they will be stripped of their buffs. Now, Life Divination, upon taking damage, recover HP equal to 92% of Diviner Rose attack with 30% chance to dispel 1 debuff. This is great. It's a 30%, but it's consistent. It's good. It's a little bit good. I hope that they did it to 50%. On global, we have it the same complete kit. So 30%, it means whenever you get charm does not work on it. So whenever you get a stunned, frozen, you have bleed, you have shock, you have armor break on you, that's a debuff. So she will remove that. Even if you're stunned, it's considered a debuff. You can remove that with the Life Divination when it procs. So Life Divination status ends after triggering 2 times, cannot be triggered if Diviner Rose is defeated. When she's dead, you can't trigger a Life Divination anymore, even if they have it on them. So her super unleashes Soul Aura, dealing thunder damage equal to 257% of attack to all enemies. If the skill hits an enemy with Fate Divination, increase the number of Fate Divination trigger chances that the enemy has by 1, unless this would exceed the trigger chance cap, which is 2. So it will increase it again. So it will apply it once, of course, and if you hit them with the super, it will increase it to 2. So we will have it 2, maximum at 2, which is great, which is the Fate Divination, which we talked about. So if the skill hits an enemy with Fate Divination, its damage is increased by 25%. If the skill hits an enemy with at least 2 Fate Divination, trigger chances is immediately triggers the Fate Divination instead of triggering it after you hit them one more time. So the Fate Divination that we talked about is the one that dispels or have 1 buff on the enemy that you remove them or strip them off. So her C1, which is the most important skill for her because it heals, it's debuff, it cleanse, it does everything. So heal all allies, HP equal to 65 to 56% of Diviner Rose attack, and grant them Life Divination status. Life Divination has a 50% chance to dispel debuffs upon triggering. Now it's not 30% anymore, it's up because it says 30% here. It goes up to 50%, which is great, and it will help you. So 1 out of the chance you can remove a debuff on yourself, which is great, especially for stuns. If you're playing on a team that gets a lot of stuns or frozen, like in the enemy boss in Effigy Clash, when you fight Loki, that freezes you a lot. She doesn't remove the cold that you get from Loki, the stacks, but she removes the freeze if you are frozen and you can continue doing whatever you're doing. Life Divination can trigger up to 3 times, of course. So it does go to 2 times, but it gets you on level 3 to 3 times. This is the exception of this rule. Life Divination gets up to 3 times, which is more chances for you to cleanse yourself from debuffs. So her C2 deals damage equal to 102% of attack and inflict Fate Divination on all enemies. Just like the super, Fate Divination is the one for the damages, not for the cleansing, and it strips buffs from the enemies. Inflicted on all enemies. Fate Divination has 50% chance to dispel buffs on triggering. So you can use the C2 to dispel the enemies from their buffs. Fate Divination can trigger up to 3 times. This is the exception now. So you need to use her C2 to increase the cap of Fate Divination. Instead of having it up to 2, it will go up to 3. And with the C1, it goes up to 3, the Life Divination, instead of 2. Now, her Fighting Spirit. Of course, she have good stats. She have great HP bonus, so she can stay alive. Plus 40, of course, this is not plus 30. So at plus 30, it's less than that. Attack bonus goes up to 33% at plus 40 again, which is good actually, because her numbers and her attack numbers, she does not inflict a lot of damage, but it will add up because of the true damage that she does. Defense bonus, of course, for survivability, and recovery rate because she healing, and the heal will be great. Now her, where everything changes, a skill she gets is Divination Spark with her passive, the Reflux. So upon triggering Soul Reflux, grant the Spark status to all allies for 8 seconds, and it could stack, and this can continue every time. So fighters with the Spark refill the super combo gauge by 5 every time they get attacked. So every time you get a hit, you're gonna refill your combo meter, which will allow you to do even more rotations on your teams. So her assist is decent, it's not bad, it's actually super good. When the fighter is in assist position, when the battle begins, grant the assisted fighter Spark for 25 seconds. It means every time they get hit, they will get 5 combo meter, which will help them give you combo meter more and more, which is absolutely nice. And she's a master character, so you can play her on any lineup. Plus 10, upon unleashing Fate Divination, grant all allies Life Divination with 1 trigger chance. If a target already has Life Divination active, increase the number of trigger chances by 1, so it's up to 2 instead, which is the maximum, unless this would exceed the trigger cap. So if it's already at 2, you can't get it at 3, unless you click her skill that will allow you to exceed that, so keep that in mind. Plus 20, upon unleashing Life Divination, inflict Fate Divination with 1 trigger chance on all enemies. If the target has already Fate Divination, increase the number by 1 unless it exceeds the trigger cap, which is maximum at 2 unless you use her skills. So her C1 gets it to 3, her C2 gets it to 3 again for Life Divination and Fate Divination. At plus 30, which is the best maximum investment you can go for her if you want to go for versus bosses, versus anything to increase your damage output on your lineup. Upon triggering Soul Reflux, which is her passive, upon your trigger Life Divination or Fate Divination or Spark, increase all allies crit damage by 12% until the end. The battle ends. Stacks up to 5 times. It means it goes to 60% damage in the crit, which is great. Increase of crit damage to 60%, which will help you deal a lot of numbers. Now let's talk about her cars. Her cars are super easy to understand. They're not super important actually. I wouldn't say like go and build her cars unless you want to increase your numbers with a little bit of damage and true damage, because true damage bypasses any shields, bypasses any things, and you can inflict it on enemies, which is good actually. Not that super good of an investment. If it was for me, I will get her to SS, get her to plus 30 here on her Soul Spirit just for helping in bossing. You have another character with the C1 that now we have Athlete Chun-Li, we have Street Poison, and you can use Divine Rose, or you can use Donatello if you built him actually to a higher level. But if you didn't build him or you didn't acquire him, or you're free to play and you don't have his exclusive or his Fighting Spirit unlocked or his cars, you can use her instead, and she's a better of investment because she will stay in the game, and you can go and always get her from Divination. So her cars, upon triggering Life Divination, also heals the target for HP equal to 37% of Divine Rose attack per second. So on for 4 seconds. So 4 seconds, you're gonna get a total of 37% of HP recovery. Effect does not stack, it happens once. And upon triggering Fate Divination, also deals true damage to the target equal to 52% of Divine Rose attack per second for 4 seconds. It does not stack, so it means you will add 52% true damage to the enemies on the duration of 4 seconds. It's not like an immediate 52% damage on 4 seconds. And when she dies, everything, all of these will not be applied as well, because her passives will be negated or not applied when she dies. So this only when she's surviving. So this is why you keep her on the attack position. Maybe it would help. You can use her on lineup, on the main lineup, but she's a little bit squishy. Not squishy in bossing, but squishy in PvP, what I mean. But you can still use her. She's great. She heals, she dispels, she debuffs. She does everything, and she removes the buffs from or the debuffs that you have on your enemy, on your lineup, on your teammates, which will let her be a good solid option if you want to go for her. I would highly suggest you to go to double S on her, get her to plus 30, and there where you want to put her. Unless you want to be a hardcore, if you're paying a lot, you can get her to with her cars. She will add a little bit of damage, and that would help you with your runs. And yeah, that was it about Diviner Rose. Nothing changed from global. She's the same as global. We still use her. She's good utility. Of course, there's higher priority units that we use better than her or different than her, but she's also a good option for you, especially for dispelling debuffs or removing debuffs on you. Such as bleed, shock, burn, or anything else, just like being frozen or being stunned will absolutely help you. Again, charm does not get dispelled because they're considered on your enemy lineup or on your enemy team, so it will not help you versus charm. And yeah, that was it for the video.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, we thank you for watching. And as always, stay frosty. Peace.
Time to fly.